everyone, so welcome to Top 5 Wednesday. This week's topic is our top 5 couples.
Yay! I'm surprised and I'm not surprised that we haven't talked about this because I was talking to her and I'm like, I'm trying to think of couples, but I don't read books to find couples. I don't pay much attention.
We're not real big on the romance. We both kind of like the romantic side plot.
But it can't detract from the actual
plot. Yeah. So we did manage to come up with 5, surprisingly. And these are in no particular order because we don't really know how to rank them.
The first couple that we were thinking about was, okay, let's get this out of the way because it's freaking obvious if you've ever watched our videos, Magnus and Alec.
Okay. So, Magnus Bane. I don't know how else to say. Magnus Bane is phenomenal. He's one of my favorite characters. He's fun, he's sarcastic, he's silly, he's just covered in glitter. And then there's Alec, who's very serious and very composed. And the first time they meet, I was just like, if these two don't end up together, I am never reading another book by Cassie Clare.
Well, aren't you a lucky duck?
They balance each other so well because, you know, you can just kind of see it. Magnus is walking ahead throwing sparkles at everything and Alec has a broom.
It's like May in my mind and there's a pole and flowers and it's Victorian times.
He's just, they just work so well together and you actually, it's very cute and very sweet and very just, it feels very real. Like they balance each other, which I've said like 4 times now.
The second couple is a couple that we have loved for a very long time. We seem to be talking about him more often lately. This is from Marianne Curley's trilogy, The Guardians of Time. The character is Arkarian and his mate Isabelle.
So, this was kind of alluded to in the first book. And in the first book, Isabelle is kind of killed in a situation where she isn't technically dead, but she is on her way to dying. And so Arkarian and Ethan, the other character, are like, okay, if we want to save her, we have to bring her back from going into the underworld. But the only way that can work is, you know, your true love has to call you. Your soulmate has to call you back. And so Ethan's like, oh yeah, you know, we've known each other forever. We were kids together. She used to follow me around. I'm totally her soulmate. And Arkarian's just like, okay.
Off you go.
And so he goes in and he's screaming for her and she doesn't turn around and he's just like, oh my goodness, there's my best friend and she's gonna die. And then Arkarian just walks up and is like, Isabelle. And she just comes back. And Ethan's just like, what the hell?
You guys are soulmates, really?
And Arkarian is just so sad because Arkarian is 400 years old. He's technically immortal. Like
if you kill him, he'll die, but
he's like, think of a Tolkien elf. And Isabelle is 16 and human. So Arkarian at the very beginning, he's just like, yeah, there's no way this is going to work out because reasons. And she can never know. Because if she knows that we're soulmates and we can't end up together, then she's never going to be happy because there's always going to be that what if question. Then the second book happens and
oh my god.
Breaks loose. Because Arkarian is kidnapped and Isabelle is just like, we have to save Arkarian, guys. And the book is alternating perspectives of Isabelle and Arkarian, and then when they finally get to him, it's just like, it's just like, I thought I'd never see you again, no. And you're just like, You live for the Arkarian chapters.
Next on our list, we have, from the Diviners, Evie and Jericho. And they're on my list just because he's kind of like the dark horse, and I always go for the dark horse in like the relationship triangle of options, but it's like he kind of settles her down a bit, and you love Evie because she's wild and she's just like a hurricane running through a town, but you know, he kind of like balances her out sensibly, right? Whereas Sam is more like going to like
add fuel to the fire.
Yeah, and burn the whole place to the motherfucking ground. And so I just like, they have like a very sweet relationship where they're kind of not, they're learning to rely on each other, and it's kind of like when that's gone, you're gonna kind of want it back, right? And they're gonna just kind of like fall sideways into love with each other, I hope. Don't.
We have 2 books to figure this out if this is gonna happen.
But so I've just kind of looked at that couple and I was like, that's so sweet. This is perfect. This needs to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I want them to be a couple. And they were kind of leaning that direction.
So we have hope.
And then this is the problem with a lot of books I find with couples, is that the character they end up with is literally the first guy they see, right? It's like the default. And I've hated this for so long. That's why I think I always go for the dark horse. It's like, look, we have options. Let's choose option 2 for once. And so that's why when Betty suggested this couple coming up, I was like, yeah, okay, we can put them on the list because they are Buttercup and Wesley.
Now, I think everyone who grew up specifically around like our age has this soft spot for The Princess Bride, be it the book or the movie. And the thing about The Princess Bride is if you go back and you watch it or read it, you kind of see just how the main relationship, they are going through the motions. There's nothing there. It's like saying all the right things, they're doing all the right things, but there's no like emotional intensity. And I absolutely adore that because on the level of parody and spoof that is this book, it's just so subtle. Because, you know, we're spoofing the high fantasy and we're spoofing the whole, like, the relationship.
Like the fairy tale romance.
Yeah. And so, like, specifically, I noticed it a lot more in the movie where it's just kind of like, oh, Wesley.
As you wish.
It's just so deadpan. And so...
Even when think about that moment when she realizes that the dreaded pirate Roberts is actually Wesley and she's now pushed him down a cliff, she's watching him roll, and then she's just like, Wesley!
Oh!
Down the hill. And you're like...
And it's fun because it takes that narrative that you have seen a million times and just turns it on its head, and so I can appreciate that forever.
Yeah.
Also, it's hilarious. So.
It really is. And that's why I kind of put the last couple on the list, which is Juliet and Warner from Tahari Mafi's Shatter Me, Ignite Me, Fracture Me, all those books.
What she's currently reading right now.
I finished, actually.
Oh, you did?
I finished those books. And she actually addresses that. She's like, I don't want to end up with a guy by default. Like, that's gonna suck, right? Like, I don't want to just end up in this relationship that it's not gonna technically work, but I'm here because he's the first guy I saw. So I was like reading this and I was like, thank you. Somebody is expressing and actually addressing this problem that I've had for so freaking long. So
there are a lot of stereotypes around couples in books. And I mean, I think now that I'm older, I'm a lot more aware of it. Like, I'm not like falling in a trap. Like, go back to Queen of the Tyrling, and she main character meets the Fetch, and he's just so dashing and handsome, and I'm like, yeah, okay, but I kind of want you to end up with the Mace.
Just yeah.
Like,
see, it's the dark horse. You're like, not the first guy you saw.
Well, technically, she saw the Mace first, but it's not the first romantic relationship she saw.
Yeah.
She saw the Fetch and she was just like, damn! I
want to see you with your clothes up.
Alright, guys, so who are your favorite couples and why?
Alright.